That is taking some error. An error. Wait a moment. Try again. We are struggling to go live, mate. There seems to be some sort of error in.
Oh, take your time, bro. I'm texting my wife right now.
The stuff is landing or crashing around the world, and unexpected countries have had this happen, and that's why I picked that, because I thought that was a interesting case. And then of course Pope Pius XII and the Vatican were involved, back channeling it through the OSS, which became the CIA later, to FDR, and that's how the U.S. knew something weird happened in Italy right before World War II. But
so this was 33 was the first documented.
I have been working in this area for about 33 years.
You figure they've got unlimited funds, and that's what scares me about the whole thing. They have unlimited funds where they could literally buy a seat in Congress, which I know that'd be naive of me to think that that's never happened in the past, but in Tennessee we are fairly independent people, and that bothers me a great deal.
Well, it's just interesting, I mean, that they're willing to go to that effort. You'd think they say, oh, Burchett, he's crazy, he believes in UFOs. But they're very threatened by this, which tells you that they've got something to hide that implicates them.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to a fine and luxurious evening. I don't know what happened to my voice then. It kind of broke. It's about time. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, that bell. I need to turn my phone on silence. Yes, I am aware before the chat starts going wild with, Ollie, have you seen what's gone off with MH370? Yes, I have seen, and I will say this right now. It's all lies, people. It's not being debunked. Those debunks, that's the government that's made those. They have put them out there, and you're fucking buying it. So, what else can I say? No, I'll be very serious before I bring on my crew tonight. I stand by Ashton 100%. Ashton did a hell of a job with that. I think he's a stand-up guy, and we don't regret our relationship with Ashton one bit, and I hope we'll have him on again, time and time again. I think the guy is quality. He got it wrong, and he's put his hand up, and I think he's going to be doing a show either tonight or tomorrow, where he'll be talking about it. So make sure you head on over there. But yeah, it's good when people can stand up and say, yeah, I got that one wrong. But he got people talking about MH370. And I think he kind of started the whole MH370X thing. So well done. Boys, welcome to the show. My lads, how are you doing?
Pretty good, buddy. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah. Terrestrial was just telling me how disappointed he is with the UFO community right now, and what's going on with disclosure. So yeah, I didn't even know what you were talking about. With honest, I've had my head that far up my backside that I'm lost with all this, and I just winged that title of the show that we don't fear disclosure, they do. But I guess I got it right.
Yeah, I mean, it appears to be. It definitely appears to be people in the Senate and Lockheed and the government kind of fears disclosure at this point. I mean, for whatever reason that they want to give you. At the end of the day, I mean that UAP bill has been gutted, dude. There's just really not a whole lot that's left besides just, hey, give us the files, and we don't really have a way to subpoena anyone or make sure that anybody does that, or I don't know. There's still a lot like hanging up in the air with a lot of it, Ollie. It's just that it's not what we want. I don't want to wait 25 years for them to maybe drip me the evidence at this point. You know, I want disclosure. You know, I want to hear about the crafts that we have. I want to be able to see the technology. I want to know what we're dealing with. And it just seems like they don't want to tell us. The DoD doesn't want to tell us. Everybody, I mean, all the agencies. Look at all the agencies that we listed last week that were involved: DOE, CIA, FBI, naval intelligence. Everyone was there. And that's the one thing
and the ones we don't know about.
Yeah, for sure. And the ones we don't know about. But I think really what my question is currently is I've looked over the new version of this UAP bill that's going in, and I don't see anything about Title 50. And I don't see anywhere where it talks about who the government offices are. It still uses that nomenclature in the document, government office, but it doesn't delineate who that is. So I want to know, are all of those people like the DOE, are they still on the table for people who are supposed to turn in the UAP records?
What are you saying, Nick?
Yeah, I'm going to say something. Yeah, you're pretty much right, Ice Cream, when it comes to where ufology is at the moment. It is a pretty bad state, and nothing solidifies more than what's been talked about recently, especially what Tim Burchett and the other Congress people came forward saying that there's someone behind this that does not want this information to come out. And we've been saying that for the past month and a half, guys, haven't we? There is someone's trying to stop this information from coming forward, and is so
We've been saying a
obvious
lot
now.
for the last month and a half, Nick.
Yeah,
man. It's good to see that people can see it. And now the public knows what's actually going on. I mean, people like me and you, a small amount of community really knows now what's going on. And hopefully the legislation will pass. But it doesn't mean we're going to get disclosure, because like I said, Ice Cream, it's going to take 25 years, and it has to be a review board as well. And depending on what information we're going to get out of it, I can't see Lockheed Martin giving up their technology for the past 80 years and, skunk works and all that. So, yeah, it's not looking good, guys, fortunately.
Did any of you get a chance to watch the latest Weaponized?
Corso?
Yeah, with
Yeah.
Corso, yeah.
Do you know what? And I know what people are going to say, and that guy is full of well, he's passed away now. But do you remember the image that he held when he holds up that little Walmart alien?
Yeah, with the half head.
Yes. So did you watch Weaponized, where he's showing a young George Knapp what the aliens actually looked like?
Yeah, he drew very similar to a gray, very typical. Yeah.
He didn't draw that little Walmart thing. And I just thought, God, this guy's when that guy held that image up, that was pretty close to his death. And I think I mean, a lot of old people suffer with my grandma right now. She's got short-term memory loss. My granddad had Alzheimer's. I could have probably got him to hold anything up and to a camera and say, say this or whatever, and he probably would have done for a Werther's original. But my point there is, like, when you see that guy when he seems like he's very intelligent, very knowledgeable in what he did, and he seems very respectful. For that all to fall apart with that old guy that's pretty much on his deathbed holding up a Walmart picture of an alien.
Sure.
And it just makes me wonder why. You know, why would that guy do that right at the end? Hold something up for everybody to go, you know, to debunk it and destroy it. I think there's the powers of B. They step in at the right time. I think that guy, that Walmart alien thing was given to that guy. I really do. I think he was told to hold that up, and I don't know for what reason, but yeah, I'm going to start another conspiracy there. There you go.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, it definitely seems like they step in at the right time. I mean, that's an amendment. You know, I mean, right here in the last second, the last throws, you know, they pitch out 60, 70% of what people maybe, you know, not everybody, I guess, wanted everything the way it was, but in hindsight, you know, 60, 70% of what people wanted. Not being able to like hold their feet to the fire on anything at this point. Like that's just kind of what sucks about what's left of this bill. I don't mean to go off of what you're talking about with Corso here, dude, but
no. I took you off track, but it's just kind of, I think it's very relevant to what they do.
Yeah, and Corso's book was good, Day After Roswell. Do you ever read that?
I can't read, but
okay. Okay.
No, I can. I just can't read. I can't read a full book.
Yeah. No, I mean the book was good. I mean just it's Corso's encounter where I don't mean to go on too much of a tangent with him, but you know, his encounter by himself walking out into this cave, he would have had people with him and stuff. I don't know if he went out in the desert by himself. There's so many weird things about that story, but yeah, I mean stepping into the wrong time, it's just like we're expecting to get documents out of these organizations and government offices that won't tell us the truth now. Like, you know, we touched on this last week that some people are saying, well, they still have to give us UAP records. And even if it's 25 years, we're going to get some without the 25 years. But it's just like, these are the people that are telling you that they don't want eminent domain in the bill and that they don't want subpoena power in the bill. And they don't want all these things in the bill. They want to cover all this stuff up, in my opinion. Why do you think all of a sudden they're going to give you documents that prove disclosure if they're trying to take disclosure out of the amendment? That doesn't make any sense. Like the goal is to shut this stuff down. Like that was a couple weeks ago, Ali and Nick, if you guys remember when I showed the toothpaste in the tube, I remember I held that up and I said, they'll just cut the back of the toothpaste out, put the toothpaste back in the tube from the other way. And like that really means a lot to me. And I look at this whole situation and people think, you know, how could they just deny it out in front of everybody and they could pull all this, it would blow the cover. But they don't care about our rules. They don't. They play by their own set of rules. And I do agree with Burchett. They could get somebody in a seat in Congress. They could buy their way through it. And I think that's what you've seen. It's not a coincidence, guys, that all the people like that fund these representatives, these senators like Lockheed Martin that give all these guys money. There's no way you think that it's just a coincidence that these are the guys that aren't interested in pushing this bill. They're not interested in moving things forward. How many more fucking coincidences does it have to be? Sorry for swearing, but how many more do we have to?
I can't believe you just apologize for swearing an alien addict. I mean,
I try not to use the F-bomb for the algorithm. I try not to use it, but
we've been pretty good these days, apart from Nick using a C-bomb last week.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, dude.
They monetized that bad boy though.
Did they? Oh, I'll keep going.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's just, I don't mean to rant too much here before you can jump in, Nick, but like, I've been frustrated, man, lately. Especially with the way this act has went. Like I said before, I hate kind of being right about this thing and wondering, is this all going to fall out next year? Because when I look around at a lot of the content that's been coming out the last 2 weeks, especially this last week or so, everyone's kind of jumping back on like weaponized Corso. Like we're going back to all these old stories. I know Jeremy Rise was talking about Calvine today. And it's like, fuck, man, like I don't want to just have ufology go back to all this old stuff. I want to move forward.
I caught on the toilet. I caught Jeremy's show when he was doing the Calvine bit.
Yeah. Honestly, guys, I would love to. I mean, me and Moody, we were talking about this last week. He mentioned it. The aerogel. That seems to be
that's interesting. That was that Corbell. That Corbell. That was Jeremy's Reese's show tonight, wasn't it?
No,
on the aerogel.
Professor Simon came back. He did a video about 3 weeks ago. He had the same guy on who basically broke this new type of sort of material. that's possibly that the military has been using, but the Chinese has funded it and there's actual patents for it. And it's mostly Chinese, but I think other sort of military industries have really patented it and put it into practice. But it's immensely fascinating, and it's good to see that Jeremy. Sorry, going off topic, guys, but
You're good.
Jeremy went into great detail into this new type of material, and it's fascinating what it can do. See the bloody thing float up. It's absolutely incredible stuff. It really is. So it's a possibility. I mean, it's nothing new when it comes to this sort of technology, but this is the material you're talking about.
Just really quickly, MH370 crew in the chat. I see you. I appreciate you as well. Sunday show, I think we're going to address it. I'm not sure if Ashton's coming on with the boys or not, but there is going to be probably the last MH370 show on Sunday. So there you go. But I love you guys. Great.
But no, I mean, I like what I'm not downing like him talking about the Calvine UFO, Jeremy, like that, because what I see Jeremy being able to do here in the future, no matter what happens, he's always going to be able to like work on this alt propulsion shit, and he's always going to have somewhere to kind of move to. That's very interesting in this topic. It's just like it's going to be hard to bring really new stuff all the time going forward if everything kind of stands where it is now. If I'm right at all about this, and I could obviously be wrong, but I think there is still maybe a little bit of room for them to work on that bill and change a little bit of the wording. And this is kind of what I want to talk to Bassett about so bad is he's gonna
you got him on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
What time?
Yep. 7:15 Eastern time on Sunday on our channel. And so this is kind of where I like, I'm not dropping the gavel on everything completely just yet, because I do at least want to talk to him, because he does do this stuff every day. This is what he looks at. So I do want to get his opinion before I fully kind of close my thoughts on where I think everything is going to lead to. But yeah, it's just disappointing, man. I guess is my long-winded way of saying I'm disappointed in this stuff. Are you guys disappointed, Ali, that this stuff is not going on?
I would. So I'm disappointed with the real world, like when I go outside to my job and I see human beings, I get disappointed. I get excited when I get on the UFO subject on Twitter, on YouTube, and all the other platforms we're on in the description, people. But I get exactly where you're coming from. I'm past frustration with it, because I never see. I don't think it can go anywhere, because I think whatever the truth is, I think the truth is, if the truth comes out, that's going to be a genie that you could never put back in the bottle again. That will change everything. I don't know if it'll change things for the better either, because I don't know what that truth is. We've heard so many rumors of you've heard the name demons, you've heard the name civilizations that an old civilization that's been ruling over us for years. Everything. Absolutely. It's us from the future. It's AI. It's a simulation. Everything. I could probably, if I listed everything, I'd probably be here all night. But whatever it is, I think I mean, I did put the title was we don't fear disclosure. They do, but maybe we should fear disclosure, because in the actual description, I do say, are they protecting us from something? Maybe not everybody's bad in this. Maybe it's not all about free energy that we think it is, because that's the big argument, isn't it? The big argument with disclosure is, well, we could have had free energy for fucking years. I didn't have to pay my electric bill. That's what gets brought up all the time. Maybe it's nothing to do with that.
Maybe it's something to do with weaponry as well. This is another thing when you're talking about extraterrestrial technology. You can weaponize that stuff, and the capability of what that can do. I mean, for instance, if they came out next year and saying, right, we've had this extraterrestrial craft and we've got this unknown weapon, and then, for instance, if they, let's say, made it public, but managed if the enemies managed to get hold of this sort of weapon, and what the implications of that would happen. So I think they need to keep it secret to a certain degree, because who knows what they got. I mean, it can make like the hydrogen bomb look like a bloody firecracker, the sort of weaponry that the aliens must have. You know what I mean? So who knows, man? But when you're talking about disclosure, who is it going to benefit? It's mostly us. A small community on Twitter is going to be benefit for us. The vast majority of the public ain't really going to give a crap. You discussed this last week, Ollie, when you talked about people, what would you think if aliens were real? Most people won't give a shit. Okay, it might affect some religious people and all that, but when it boils down to it, it's just going to be us and this very small community that's going to really take it seriously.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've spoken to my wife about it a few times, and it's like she doesn't really care.
Same with my missus, mate. The amount of people I've spoken to says, if aliens came out tomorrow was real, would you care? They couldn't give a shit. Mate, the public are distracted by technology, gadgets, and gizmos. That's a quote from George Carlin, by the way. So they got other things to. They rather watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians and stuff like that. They're not interested in extraterrestrials and aliens. That's more like a conspiracy sort of thing in their sort of realm. So
get an alien in an interview, though. On fucking Logan
people
Paul.
Say fake. People would just say it's fake, Ollie. You know what I mean? That's if I show any footage to anybody, they'd be like, "Oh, that's fake. It's just a balloon. It's like swamp gas or something like that." You're always going to get this. No one's going to take it seriously. We're talking about the outside people. People not into the film.
Well, in the future, I mean, Ice Cream, you'll have seen both of you now. AI images are just insane. So
yeah, it's crazy already. Yeah.
Whatever you're going to get in the future, if you're going to get some, you may get the best old photograph on Twitter, on Reddit or whatever that somebody's holding, and you're like, how do we know that's not AI? How do we know the hand holding that is not AI? How do we prove anything now?
You can't, but at the same time, it's like, if now is not the time in the government or however you want to view it, whoever's holding the technology or holding the information, like, when do you think that changes for them? I mean, how long, like, in my opinion, if they're worried about us killing each other with it, how long until we do end up having a nuclear war, man? I mean, are they just saving us from killing ourselves just a little bit longer? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, how much longer do they need to wait? What are they waiting for? What is the time? I mean, they obviously don't think now's the time. And I understand everybody grabbed toilet paper, at 2020. I truly do think that if they were going to start doing disclosure back in 2017 with TTSA and the article and all that stuff was real from New York Times, dude, you just got screwed by that. I really do. And I think this has been possibly a very slow process of them putting the toothpaste back in the tube, like being like, hey, now's not the time. I mean, do they see 500 years from now people aren't going to run for toilet paper? I don't know how much humanity is going to change with the way that things are going now. What forces us to be ready? What has to happen before we're ready?
Who do you think is the best person to give us I want to say a semi-disclosure, but who do you think is the best person to give us the information that you would trust?
Timothy Good.
Tim Good?
Yeah, Tim Good. I reckon he'd be good coming forward. Especially when it comes to UK disclosure. Yeah, don't get Nick Pope. I think Timothy Good, he's the guy who should really come forward, because he's a very intellectual guy. He's very on the point. If you watch his interviews, I've got a load of his books there.
Does he cover a lot of UFO stuff?
Yeah. He's a ufologist, isn't he? Well, say ufologist. I think he's been out of the limelight.
No, recently. That's what I'm on about.
Yeah, I think the last interview he did was a few years ago, but yeah, because he says that disclosure would be catastrophic for the civilization.
Well, I'm kind of I'm not saying. I don't think a UFO guy can give us disclosure. I think it's got to be. It has to be somebody in power. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. No, I understand. Yeah.
But how would you trust it?
Well, it's the archive, though.
evidence.
I mean, I'll be
Evidence.
honest. I think the archive that they were trying to build, that collection, I think that's a good way to do it. I mean, if you were to actually trust that the DOE gave you everything they had, and the CIA gave you all the documents, FBI gave you their documents, you'd be able to look and see that those are real documents. And so, like,
Is
you'd
this
have a
the
giant collection
archive
of
where
real
you're
stuff.
going to get all the Roswell stuff next year?
I mean, it would have been.
Part
I
of
mean,
it,
I guess it
part of it.
technically still could. I mean, they're still doing the archive. The reality of it is that, like, it's just whether or not you're going to be able to get, you can trust that the CIA is giving you everything that they have. You see, before Ali, the old amendment was that they could subpoena people to come in and say, hey, look, is this really what you have? You don't have any more documents. They could do that, but they don't have that power now. Now it's just an honor system. So they're still going to make this collection. They're still going to have an archivist, but there's nothing to hold their feet to the fire that they're actually giving us what they have. That's the problem.
But the fact that they've got the tail between the legs right now, it means that we're onto something.
Agreed. Yeah.
We have made
Yeah.
progress. As much as you think it's a bad times right now, I think this goes to show that all the noise that we have made, and when I say we, I mean that all the UFO community, everybody, I'm talking every motherfucker, even the ones that you think are chatting shit, because you've made so much noise together. There's a small part of this little tiny ball in space, or paper shaped ball, whichever part of the field you sit on. I think we've done some fucking damage, and now they're doing damage control.
Sure.
I always ask
Yeah.
this question. I was going to ask this question: who benefits with disclosure? I mean, talking about politicians and people in the high up, are they going to benefit from this? You know,
We don't know what it is, though, Nick. That's what I mean. We don't know it. How do we know? There may be no benefits to it.
Well, no, Ali, the reason why I say it's dark times is because, like, even if this passes, it doesn't change anything. The people that are telling you nothing's there are still going to be able to tell you that there's still nothing there. Like, their hand isn't forced. Nothing changes. And so I think you're going to see a lot of people look at this and go, dude, 25 years, and even 25 years from now, they can still just push it again.
yeah.
That's what's disheartening to me, man.
I
is
can't
that
wait 25 years.
Dude, I can't either, bro. Full disclosure, I don't want to wait 2 more years, Ali. I don't. Like, I want to know what's going on. And
I've been like 68, 25 years.
And even then, it might not go through.
No, that's what I'm saying. This doesn't guarantee anything the way that it's set up right now. And that's why I'm saying it's dark times. I think a lot of people are seeing that the road ahead is just, there's not a lot of light, man, for any change. And how do you keep people like Mick West around? How do you keep people like Stephen Greenstreet around? How do you keep these guys, you know, even John Greenwald? Like, I've said this before, like, people will get sick of doing this, man. Even the people you think won't. And they've got huge followings and huge channels. Dude, they're going to get bored.
Well, Mick West will just move on to the next thing. He started with chemtrails.
True. But we need people like him in ufology is what I mean. And I mean, there's going to be people that disagree with me on that. But you need, like, debunkers. Like, you need skeptics. You need true believers. You need absolute everybody's abducted. It's all real. You need both sides. Otherwise, you know, you're just going to let the non-truth run the whole place. And that doesn't get us to the reality of it. If we didn't have people like Greenstreet and people that were forcing, you know, good opinions and reason, I don't think you get this amendment. I don't think you get any of this stuff. People still they're looked at crazy, like they're crazy people still. You know, you need legitimacy brought into this thing for anybody to care. I don't know, man. It's rough, dude.
You need for people to care that can actually bring it forward.
Correct. Correct. I mean, these people can make noise, like, but at the end of the day, like, it's not going to change anything if we can't get any real evidence moving forward. 25 years is a long road, dude. And there's not really an end in sight. I mean, look at Chris Mellon tweeting today. He's defeated. he is defeated, man. And that's like the leader on a lot of this stuff on that side that's pushing. And he's like, yeah, nah, nothing really coming, man. We'll have to see. Made a little progress, I guess. It's like, fuck, man.
It's weird you've got that. And I know it's a completely different thing, but you've also got what's his name? My favorite documentary filmmaker.
James Fox.
Yeah, you got look at what's going on with James Fox at the minute.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is broken right now.
Dude, the whole topic is, Ollie. The whole topic. This is why I said if Grush goes bad and doesn't bring any evidence, the UAP amendment gets hacked up, let alone ripped out of the bill. Where are we at the next 2 years for getting legitimate disclosure?
What is the road? How can Grush bring evidence? He can't speak about it.
Well, that's what this is my
point.
I
mean,
no, and that's fine. I don't think Grush is lying. I don't.
No, neither do I.
Yeah, I think he believes what's going on, but I think that we need like a Snowden level person. We need someone to bring terabytes of footage out. We need somebody to walk out of the DOE and just say, that's it, enough. Here's the evidence. What I'm wondering what's going to happen here in the future. I wonder if the community starts to turn on Bob Lazar, people like him, and go, dude, the amendment's not going through. We're looking at 25 years of no new evidence. You're a first-hand guy. You got the 115. Save us, Bob. And Bob's like, I got nothing, man. I got nothing for you.
Right.
And then everybody pitchforks against Bob,
Yeah.
Whether Bob Lazar is legit or not, okay? And I go back and forth all the time with that. I don't think he's got the 115 if it's legit.
No, he definitely doesn't have the 115. There's no way. He would have already brought it out. Knapp would have already brought it out. For sure. That's my issue. I wonder how if the community kind of starts to turn on a lot of these people, like Colehart is going to be right, in the crosshairs proverbially. Obviously, I hope nothing bad happens to the guy. I'm just saying proverbially, he's in the crosshairs, where I think a lot of people that are on his side, man, are going to turn to him and be like, dude, tell us where it's at with the building on it, man. Come on. We don't want to wait 25 years. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that, because the UFO community is not going anywhere, no matter what happens, guys.
No, we're not.
No, they're not going anywhere.
When it comes to the community, do you think it's going to get more worse? I mean, we're talking about the people that are involved, because I've noticed there's such a divine line. We're so divided as a community when it comes to ufology, but now I've started to notice a lot of regards as like trolls, but almost like hatred towards people, and I've started to notice that a lot. I think there's going to be turning more if things don't plan out like it is next year.
We need to pat that shit in, don't we, Nick?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm not condoling it at all. It's the worst thing. It does not help the community at all. But unfortunately, you can't stop it. But if things don't work out well next year, I'm going to find you're going to have more of that is going to be pushed forward on these people, like you said, like Ross Coulthard and like Bob Lazar, for instance. If they don't bring out the significant evidence, all we need to do is just have a bit of evidence. Like, here's some evidence, like a little taster, a bit of ice cream, as I say, a bit. Just sort of prove to the public, say, look, okay, there is something here. Give us a bit of time and we'll bring out more evidence. But at the moment, it's just snowballed silent. And we have someone in the background who's not giving us information now, who's trying to stop things from going ahead. But yeah.
With covering this, the MH370 footage, my complete outlook of my complete overlook of all of this now has changed, because we were doing a grift, but we were covering a story, and we were like extremely interested in it. And I'll be honest, I was somebody who's debunked stuff before. I was kind of sold on it completely, and it makes me look at like other people in this field differently now, to the point, because I trust Ashton. I do. I think he's a stand-up guy, and I think he needs to move on to a different subject or stay with MH370 and keep investigating that. I hope he does more UFO stuff down the line. But my point here is, when I've seen all the and we've even given Corbell a little bit of stick on here, and like Coulthard, other people, we've spoken about them. Greer, but we do love him. my point there is, I think sometimes people go out and they do something, and they don't know themselves if what they're doing is right, but then they get into it and they research it and they convince themselves it is real. Now, that's not me saying that everything that Corbell's putting out is him just convincing himself. He's been given that, and he's a part of the UFO community. So if somebody gives me something, do I just not put it out there? You know, like he joked about the Kermit the Frog thing, but that was kind of still relevant. You know, it was a story. We don't know what it was. We've got loads of debunks of what it is.
Tons of them, yeah.
But he even said himself it looked like he started the fucking Kermit the Frog thing. He did.
Yeah.
I think the UFO community needs to give the people that are presenting it a little bit of slack when we fuck up, you know, or
Agreed. Yeah.
or when, you know, we're curious about something and start asking questions rather than going on the attack. Ask the questions. Don't go in with the, you know, don't be an asshole, basically. No,
Yeah.
there's no space for assholes in the
Too many
UFO community. There's too many
There's
of
too
them.
many in the world.
Thank you, my lad. I appreciate you.
Cheers,
What
man.
if
Thank you.
Dr. Andrew Gallimore studies show the beings in the DMT realm are real? Mate, them beings in the fucking DMT realm are fucking real. 100%. 100%.
I'm looking to
what
I'm
they
looking
are, I
to
don't
do
know.
I'm looking to do another big like mushroom trip. So I'm looking to contact some aliens or some sort of entities because you could definitely see them when you take a big fat dose of mushrooms. But yeah, DMT, I would love to take that stuff, but that's like a whole new realm. And I think you need to prepare yourself if we're going to go through that sort of.
Hey, we've got alien
scientists,
scientists,
Jamie.
my lad. I was watching you on the toilet tonight. I was just telling the guys before.
Great show, man.
With the aerogel and the Calvine. In fact, if you're about, mate, feel free to join. I'll send you an invite. If not, just enjoy the show, and I hope you're watching it on the toilet too. Jeremy's awesome. He's,
Yeah, for sure.
I would
awesome.
say alien scientist is probably, if I had to put, and he's in the chat. It seems like I'm blowing smoke up the guy's ass, but I've known him for years. Well, I say I've known him. I followed the guy since before I even had a UFO channel. I got the UFO channel in 2015. And that guy his channel has gone through some crazy shit. And he's getting his feet back on the ground. He was shadow banned on YouTube for a long time. Like for stuff that I probably can't say on here because I don't want to be shadow banned. But yeah, you're doing a good job, my friend.
Yeah, I try to watch as much as if I can talk. I try to watch as much of it as I can, man. But there gets to be a point, you know, where they really get deep about 45, 50 minutes in when all those physicists are in there, dude. I just can't keep up with them, man. I just don't know the physics like that. But yeah, I mean, the guys they're trying to really figure out what's going on, which is definitely the cool part about what Alien Scientist does for sure.
Yeah, because you don't get people like what Jeremy's doing, you know, actually going in the field and actually doing experiments is fantastic to see. Fantastic. But yeah, it was so interesting when you had your guest on. I can't remember his name, talking about the aerogel. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
I remember seeing that stuff a while about aerogel. I had do you remember Osvaldo Franco, the guy that used the TTSA investor that's still not forgiven me for speaking badly about Tom DeLonge.
But what do you mean? He got a spaceship? You mean he shouldn't be saying sorry to you?
Listen. I love Oz. If you're listening to this, I love you, man. You need to come back. I nearly put $200 in. You know,
I thought about it. Yeah, for sure, I did.
I wish I had a done just so could kind of be in the loop, you know, and report on what as an investor, what feedback I get, what's going on with the company. But
Yeah, for sure.
Dude,
Dude, everybody was on that TTSA train when that shit started, dude. Come on. Everybody kind of was believing that. I feel like a lot of this stuff that's been really skeptical lately.
I mean, this is again,
Yeah.
I absolutely was 100% backing TTSA.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And then at some point, and I was doing shows with Osvaldo Franco, and I'm like, Oz, I can't back these guys anymore. I think there's something going on here that's a little bit iffy. And he kind of fell out with me, but you know, if we get information that something's wrong, we'll tell you, you know, if we believe it's wrong. And for a while, when the naysayers were saying, "Oh, TTSA full of shit," I was saying, "No, they're not." You know, you just got to bear with it. Bear with it. Disclosure takes time, people.
Well, yeah, you
But
got to
then
give them a
we
chance.
never got the
Ollie,
spaceship, though.
you know?
We never got that spaceship.
No, never. No, but you got to give them a chance, man. Otherwise, I mean, what's the point even being here if you're just going to instantly smack everybody down the first 3 seconds? I don't even know if you really want to find out the truth. And at that point, you're just trying to figure out whatever narrative you want and make that echo chamber happen at that point. Same thing with Grush. Like when Grush came out, was I convinced that he was not just another guy talking shit again? No, I wasn't. I still wondered what was going on with him for sure. I had my skeptical glasses on with him, but doesn't mean I'm not going to give him a chance, man. A lot of people were like, "Oh, what about the skiff? You know, he's still not going to learn anything if he goes there." It's like, we'll see, man. Give it a chance. And you know,
Grush is like, he's a crazy subject. If you think about it, he's delivered, like, I know Cambian's got his whole thing of like 100 and whatever days he's delivered nothing, right?
Yeah.
But he has delivered nothing, but he's also at the same time, he's got everybody talking. Everybody. Because he can't speak about it. So it's like we're like everybody's like little, like what are them animals called that like they them little tiny little things, the furry little bastards. Lemmings? No, meerkats.
No, they're called
Meerkat.
prairie dogs. Yeah,
when they get up and they're like, so when we hear Grush, when we hear it, like there's a new like interview with Grush, or there's some Grush has just said something, we're all like this, and we're looking this way and we're looking that way. We're like, what?
Everybody is, Ollie. Come on. Even the people that say they're not, they're lying, dude. I'm gonna go ahead and say that right now. You're lying if you say you're not interested, man. Everybody here is. Yeah. Yeah.
There's something about that guy. Somebody's told him some shit. And those people that have told him that shit, they were probably told to tell him that shit. And you know what? There was probably a few others that told them to tell him that shit. It's coming from somewhere.
I mean, when you say, Ollie, that he can't show us anything, do you really think that there's no video at all that isn't classified that he could have snuck out? Or maybe snuck out's a bad way to put it because it's not classified, but like that he could have brought out? You don't think there's anything that could be considered unclassified that's just behind the scenes?
I tell you what, ask Jeremy Reese that question.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Jeremy, you got the answer for me or what?
In live chat. So Philip Corso, right? If you remember, this guy had way better credentials than Grush. He was the head of the U.S. Air Force Material Command at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And he came out and basically said the same thing that Grush said, 20 years ago. And that was like in 1997, 3 years after the U.S. Air Force issued its Roswell case closed report, right?
Yeah.
So kind of, I guess the case wasn't closed. And it still isn't.
Right.
But I watched a lot of these kind of things go on, and for some people like that to get on and have credibility and say these things and then see 20 years pass and nothing change. That was sort of my question when I had Steve Bassett on the other night, is like, well, with Dave Grush is like, well, what's going to change in 20 years? Because we already had Corso, who's, arguably much better credentialed than Grush, telling us the same thing 20 years ago, and nothing changed. So how do we move forward and actually, change things? and that's a big problem. You know, it's like what's changing, what's changing in regards to the narrative. You know, it's a lot of the same stuff. They keep putting these UFO grifters and people with the worst information out there. That they put those people forward front and center out in the media as the spectacle and the limelight for everyone in the public to see. And I'm just not doing this, man. Like, sorry, I had to shut my phone off. Getting interruptions. Like I was going to come on earlier, and I got interrupted. I got interrupted by the same person. So I'm just, anyways. Yeah, it's what's changed and what needs to change in order to move this subject forward. And it's really it's about the technology. I believe, you know, if we could prove this stuff out in a lab and show this, demonstrate, you know, this effects for people to see undeniably, then that would just do it. That would be undeniable proof at that point. It doesn't matter about UFO videos or this or that. If you can show something, that would be undeniable.
What do you feel, Jeremy? Do you feel we're better off, or it's just more possible that we're going to figure it out ourselves in 25 years before they would tell us?
Absolutely. I don't think they're ever going to tell us. I mean, look at the JFK assassination, right?
Yeah.
60 years later, and they still don't declassify the files. They're still putting out the same, they're still propping up the same liars like Gerald Posner, still propping up the same propaganda and just ignoring all the connections between Oswald and the CIA.
Yeah.
You know, trying to suppress that as much as possible. They just won't talk about it. Lots of things like that are going to happen with the UFO community. I've already seen it happen. They're going to put out bad actors and prop up those bad people to put out bad information so that the public thinks that all these people are nuts and believe in stuff that's just an unbased, unfounded reality. And that's the perception. It's all about perception management with their control of the media. And they realized that in the 60s, that when they can control the media with Operation Mockingbird, they can control pretty much everything. And they've done that very successfully until the invention of the internet and the podcasting scene. And we've just completely thrown them for a loop. And their response was to create these armies of disinfo bots. You know, so they get the comments and they do the forum sliding and these other tactics to show a presence of, you know, these bot armies, which will thumbs up the videos to algorithmically boost, you know, disinformation and find ways to other ways to algorithmically shadow ban, you know, good information, and sideline that. And we've seen that firsthand, but it's only so effective. We are having a massive, you know, effect. We're having breakthroughs. We're giving them a run for their money. I mean, we've got people turning left and right on, you know, on these subjects, and I've got more people subscribing every day to, you know, content where we get scientists on to talk about this stuff, and we get like verifiable facts and information, and then we try to confront the people out there that are, you know, and debunk the people that are selling crap. And that's always only somewhat effective, you know, as we see. Like you get cases like this, like Ashton Forbes, where it's like it's very hard to distinguish for a person like me. I don't have a background in video editing and graphics and design and all that stuff for me to like tell whether those debunks are legit or not. Some of the ones I've seen put out more recently, you know, I've gone back and forth on that whole thing, because it's like, oh God, what if there is this technology and this is proof of it and there is a cover up, but then at the same time, it's like you can't marry your ego to any one piece of evidence or any one line of belief, because in this world of counterintelligence and disinformation, you never know who to trust or what information to go with.
I mean, one thing I'll say about thank you so much for the catastrophic disclosure. That's going to be one of our videos. We're going to be speaking about that at some point. But you mentioned Ashton there. I mean, I don't. I generally think Ash. He was on your show. He's been on our show. I think he's a stand-up guy. I think he was just interested in the whole thing. When you talk about Philip Corso as well, this kind of makes me. It links in there because that guy, he put something. He did stuff and said stuff that was so respected in the UFO community, and then it all fell apart at the end when he showed that picture of that Walmart alien. I don't know if he was there for the beginning of the show, Jeremy, but we spoke about that. Do you remember the little the picture that he held up when he was on? Literally, I think he died not long after that picture.
Was that Corso you're talking about, or is this Boyd Bushman?
Yeah, I think
it was
Bushman.
They look the same. They look exactly the same.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because that was
That's
later.
my bad.
Boyd's another interesting guy. You know, he did a ton of interesting research. You can read his patents on Google Patents and you know some of his papers and stuff. And he worked with a lot of the other scientist groups that you know we've talked about. Those guys are tried to interview as many of them as we can. Not all of them are always willing to talk or able to talk, which is interesting. But whether Corso is real or not, that's up for I leave that up for people to believe. We've gone over the technologies that he talked about and explained why integrated circuit technology. I doubt that they got transistors and integrated circuit technology from aliens because of what we know about fiber optics makes more sense, and photonics, right? So if you have a photonic computer that works on light and metamaterials, and that would be what I would expect from alien craft. I wouldn't expect them to use semiconductor and push electrons around. It's much more efficient to push photons around and do your computation with photons if you can build a photonic quantum computer. Of course, that technology didn't exist in 1947 or 1997 when Corso published that book. So it's really a question of why he didn't talk more about these materials and the material science if he was had direct access to these programs and knew about these things. And that begs the question, well, how much did he know and how much access was he given, and was he given disinformation on purpose in case he talked? It seems like a lot of these people who if you get in something like that where you're dealing with alien technology for the government, or it's not under the government, and it hasn't been since the 1930s when they reported these craft recoveries in Italy and stuff. It's all been under private corporations like Marconi and Battelle, the top science contractors of the day. That's where it would have been put under, and it would have been separated from the military and the government and put inside these private entities, which are again nonprofit institutes. So they're not subject to FOIA, not subject to the same laws. They can privatize all that information and intel. And Battelle currently manages all of our national laboratories. You can look up who manages Los Alamos National Labs, who manages Sandia, who manages
just another coincidence, huh?
Lawrence Livermore. So any technology that is likely to be discovered in our national laboratories is also subject to basically censorship. They have these patent holding companies where they'll scoop up any new technologies that are invented, and they become classified, and they go into this sort of black hole where we don't get to see them. And that's been going on for quite a long time, with little to no official government oversight since at least the 70s. 76 was the House Select Committee on Assassinations. That's when George H.W. Bush, one of the key people involved in the JFK assassination and a lot of the CIA's black projects and stuff, was placed in charge of the CIA to allegedly clean up the CIA. But the way he cleaned it up was to move all of these sort of black operations into private corporations and private entities and private enterprises. So since 1976, all of this stuff's been buried deep underground. And we're not going to find anything unless you go back to these private corporations. They sort of learned that that's how the proper operating procedure for how to keep things, out of FOIAs, out of the request of the, Freedom of Information Act. That was a big problem for people when that the Freedom of Information Act was passed and started looking into, gave people the ability to dig into these entities. So there is a secret government. There was a secret space program. Okay. From 1945, we had Operation Paperclip. We brought all these Nazi scientists over and we had them working on the Mercury program and other secret space projects up until 1958, when we publicly created NASA. So the official space programs created 14 years after we brought all that intellectual, army of intellect, the brain drain that we did from Europe during World War II. And for 14 years, all the smartest scientists that we had access to developed most of our space programs, technologies and stuff before it became official, including the invention of nitinol wire, memory shape retention alloy, memory metals that were invented in 1956 at Naval Ordnance Research Labs. Nitinol wire stands for nickel titanium Naval Ordnance Research Labs, NOL, nitinol. So it's very, very curious how all this, and then NASA's been studying this shape retention alloy and that stuff, which is allegedly like the memory foil that was recovered at Roswell. So they've been trying to understand this stuff and figure it out for decades in these sort of secret programs. And, now they have this whole UAP DA, but our government's so corrupt now. Many people don't even realize it. Like between the JFK assassination 60 years ago, where a secret government essentially assassinated our democratically elected leader in this country and installed a new government under the continuity of government program. And that whole thing has existed, this continuity of government program. And in fact, when, during the Iran-Contra hearings, you can go back to the Iran-Contra hearings and hear Senator Inouye say, there's a secret military with its own private air force, its own private funding mechanisms, that exists completely outside the oversight of the United States government, a secret government that exists within the government. And that was exposed for the first time at the Iran-Contra hearings by Senator Inouye. And that whole entity, that continuity of government program, still exists today. It was, I can name many other events that's been involved with and stuff, but it's just crazy what's happening. We got Alex Jones being interviewed on Tucker Carlson.
That's wild.
Too little, too late, I think, in some regards, and there's lots of other better people, I think, personally, that Tucker could be interviewing and talking to, because Alex Jones, he was one of the oldest and loudest. He said he pretty much repeated everything, so he got a few things right, but he got a lot of stuff wrong too, that people like Sandy Hook and other things that were just really bad mistakes, things that he got really bad wrong. And everyone's like, oh, well, he made all these predictions about all this stuff and got a bunch of stuff right. Yeah, because he basically like repeated any doomsday news that he heard for 20 years. Of course, you're going to get some stuff right.
Yeah.
But the sources that he got that information from is what's important. For example, he was talking about Jeffrey Epstein and the pedophile island, 10, 20 years before that made breakthrough mainstream news. And his source for that information was an FBI whistleblower by the name of Ted Gunderson. So you go back to Ted Gunderson's testimony, you learn all kinds of corruption about the FBI and what the FBI was doing, and how they didn't just cover up an elite pedophile island where our former presidents and royalty from the British royal family were going to rape children. They didn't just cover that up. They covered up lots of other crimes, just like they lost Hunter Biden's laptop, and the 168 videos that he filmed of himself committing all sorts of crimes that they won't never prosecute him for. It's just our justice system and our government is a joke. It's a joke. And the only people that realize it are the podcasters, the people that can actually speak the truth, because our mainstream media is so handcuffed and censored that they'll never be able to even, come close to being able to speak any of that truth. You know what I mean? They're so,
Yeah, I mean,
so
this is like one of the last, especially with this Disclosure Act. This is kind of the last straw for me of even giving them 1% chance that they want to tell us anything. It's clear they don't
never
want to
going
tell
to.
us. Never going to. Agreed. They've had a million chances over the last 2 or 3 years to do it. If they were going to do it, they would have done it. It's the same thing with Arrow. It's a waste of time. I still don't believe Kirkpatrick, whether or not he had the clearances or if he didn't, and somebody told him, hey, shut up, you're not going to say anything. I have to vote with my gut on that's the case. I mean, if it wasn't the case, why don't we have anything? I don't understand. Why are we blocking the bill? Why are we gutting the bill? Why is it when the DOE and the CIA and the FBI are pulled up into question, we bring in all the big boys and we say, listen, you're going to have to tell us now. And they go, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to rip the bill up and tell you guys nothing and see you later in 25 years. And we're going to push the ball down the field 25 years from now too, because we run this bitch and you're not going to do anything about it. That is where we're at, dude. And it sucks. It is. It's irritating. Because not just because I think it's the only way that we can get the truth out of it. But guys, a lot of people do. A lot of the community is waiting for the government to tell us. It's a giant section of it. And that's where I worry that you're going to have the people that we need on both sides. They're going to back off of it. And you just don't really get any further down the road unless people like you, Jeremy, bring this alt propulsion situation in the equation where we say, listen, these people are crazy. It's corrupt. We can't do anything with it. Let's try to take it into our hands and go down that route. But have you thought, Jeremy, yet if 10 years, 15 years down the road, you guys really get some legs moving on it, how they might come at you the way they came at the Schumer bill?
I don't know what's going to happen with that, but we're just going to push this as far as we can go because, if we can, at the end of the day, the government goes to scientists to ask what's going on, to figure out what's going on. So I say there's no point they're just a middleman at this point. It's like going to, the dispensary to buy weed when you can just grow your own or buy it from a much cheaper source. You got to find better sources and you got to buy, and the better sources are the scientists. And I've known that for, 10, 15 years now. And I knew that it was just a waste of time to try to go through a middleman like the government for any answers on this at all. And that our best bet was to try to go directly to the scientists and to the science itself, forced disclosure through technology. And if we can do that, all we need is one Edward Snowden. All we need is one, Philip Corso's boss, Philip Corso's, Lou Elizondo's boss, the theoretical physicist, the quintessential theoretical physicist, he said, who hired him onto the program. All I need is that guy to come on my podcast for an hour. And we have catastrophic disclosure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been promoting this for a while now. And I said, we can do this on our own. We don't need the government. In fact, if we just keep this up, one day the Edward Snowden out there is going to get fed up with the James Clapper getting up there in front of Congress and saying that these programs don't exist. This is crazy. And one day that Edward Snowden's going to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to say, fuck it. And I'm going to dump all this stuff. And whatever happens, happens.
So speaking of fuck it and dumping all this stuff, do you obviously Elon's like big on like free speech on X now. That's his whole thing. But that guy's making rocket ships. Do you think he knows? Do you think he knows about this and he's holding that back?
I have no evidence of that. I have no direct contact with Elon or anyone from the X.
No, that's just
SpaceX or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm asking your opinion on that.
Well, I've talked to other guys, guys like Sal Pays. I asked Sal Pays, the U.S. Navy patents inventor there, right on my podcast. I said, do you think there's a Manhattan Project 2.0 going on? If this is like the next atomic bomb, why wouldn't we have one, right? If this technology is legit. And he said, well, of course there is. Why wouldn't there be? And that kind of stuck with me because, if that is true and they do have a Manhattan type project going on, then of course Elon knows, right? Why wouldn't he know?
You would have thought so, yeah.
Absolutely, he would know. Would he talk about it? No. And that's where it's an interesting question, because Elon so far, has said very, very little about this sort of stuff. He was asked one time, I have a video of him asked one time about, the laser light craft, Lake Marabou's, laser beam ships and stuff.
Yeah.
And he gives a sort of, yeah, we messed around with that, but until it becomes more viable than the rockets we're using and more economical and everything, then I'm not going to really pursue that. And that he kind of left it at that. So,
isn't the idea behind that it shoots like the lasers from behind to the point where it will just keep building and building and building up the speed? Am I right by that? Is that completely?
Yeah, and then we combine that with that technology we talked about earlier, with that scientist who's an expert in the aerogels. If you have aerogel craft and you're using that, then I don't see why it wouldn't work. It just seems like a no-brainer to me. But
I saw the lamp on your live stream earlier when you was. I mean, that was wild.
Yeah, they'd shine the light on that piece of that hockey puck of the graphene aerogel, and it just lifts right up and floats.
We've got a big lamp up in the sky.
Yeah, we do.
I was going to say the sun could mostly harness the energy of that. I mean, it's quite very plausible. It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, but it's also interesting that Elon hasn't budged from rockets, and it's like we kind of shut down NASA's Advanced Concepts Office in the late. I haven't heard a peep from them since like 2004 or 5. They really haven't done anything in like almost 20 years, and then you have Elon just building better rockets. I don't know. It's certainly curious. It just seems like if he's so determined to get us to Mars and do all this stuff, that he'd be more interested in, at least, entertaining some of the alt propulsion, concepts. It's not like Jack Sarfati's the only guy, to talk to. There's lots of other people out there, that won't call you a schmuck if you don't agree with them.
I was saying the only way. Oh, go on, Nick.
If Werner von Braun was alive today, he'd probably be laughing like, come on, guys. This is like 70-year-old technology. We haven't really progressed when it comes to rocket technology, especially coming into space. You would have thought in that time period, you would have made some sort of advanced propulsion system in some sort of way.
Yeah, well, you look back at von Braun advised on those Disney films called Man in Space. Have you ever seen those before?
I have, yeah.
No, I haven't seen it.
Right. So those were made in the 1950s about like the future of the space program, way in the future. They have one episode. If you look at the part 6 of that, the Man in Space on Disney, they show flying saucers that we're going to go to Mars and Jupiter in the future with these flying saucer type craft and stuff. So it was all in there, and that was von Braun and their buddies were the ones advising on that Disney on that whole production. So.
Always comes from Disney, doesn't it? You always get Disney brought into everything.
I mean, they're big dogs, man.
Told Walt,
Well, now you got them talking about this U.S. Air Force recruiting, psychics and all that stuff. Well, that was a Disney movie from back in the 70s called Escape from Witch Mountain. So,
I didn't see that one.
Nothing new.
Yeah, these thought processes, they've been around. Yeah, I mean they've explored it for sure. It's whether or not they really got anywhere with it or not. That's always the question,
Right. Yeah, I'm sure they look, tried to find kids with powers back in the 70s and 60s. I'm sure they at least looked for that stuff, or someone at least tried to, see if it was real or existed, And there is some evidence for that. I mean, the remote viewing program, that's kind of like a superpower if you think about it. So that only certain people can do it, right? Oh.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree. I mean, if they had some way to gain an advantage, I mean, I'm sure that, that's their job, is at least look into it. Why would they not? I mean, what else are they doing at the time? So they're getting paid to sit there and play games and do whatever they want to do. I mean, yeah, for sure.
Any updates on the FBI agent
Oh yeah.
The FBI agents that was looking into Falcon Space.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch that.
Any
I haven't
updates
heard
on
back. We didn't hear back from them, and I haven't heard anything from that. So I'm hoping that they just were there to investigate a false claim of weapons grade uranium being at the lab, and I'm hoping that they've dropped that investigation and moved on to bigger fish to fry. Hopefully they're looking into that Hunter Biden laptop or maybe some of these other massive political crime. I mean, they still
I
haven't
don't think
solved
they are.
JFK.
I don't think they are. I think
I
that
don't
thing's
doubt that,
under the
right?
bridge
I
now.
doubt that.
God, where isn't there a fire right now? You know what I mean? What house isn't on fire? I mean, we've seen rough times in the world, but this has got to be right up there and one of the rougher times for sure.
I don't think it gets much. Like I spoke to my mum and dad the other day, and I said, "Can you remember anything like this?" And they're like, "No."
I mean, World War II was
we
pretty fucked.
we went through poor times, but
Yeah.
not as crazy as this. But the thing is, like, our parents, they didn't have social media and stuff like that back in
Right.
the day. So you've got to.
It's like
Gonna
the
weigh
Great
that-
Depression with cell phones and internet.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
that's pretty good. I like that. I'm gonna steal that one. That's good.
I've spoken to my nan. She's 87 years old, sound mind. Touch wood. She's one of those ladies going to go on forever, and she lived through World War II. Now I live in Bristol, and there was a lot. We were bombed a lot during World War II because we were building armaments. So my nan lived through that. She lived through the bombing, and I said, "Nan, what would you prefer to live in, World War II or now?" And she said, "I'd rather live in World War II." I said, "It is so fucked up, this country. The whole world is like gone bananas." I thought, God, that's a pretty ballsy thing to say, Nan. I mean, your house was bombed during the war, but she says it is absolutely gone so crazy. And yeah, she said, "I don't trust anybody." I'm like, well, welcome to the real world, Nan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
gone
like we
crazy.
could get there soon, the way things are going. And, the government shooting down the NDA, the UAPDA, and, thinking that they can just continuously just never, ever tell the truth and lie to the American public and never get anything done because there's too much, disagreement in politics and crap in the government. I hope it's a wake-up call because there are consequences for these things, When you
Jeremy, how
don't-
do we do it? How do we do it? How do we get there? How do we overcome that?
Well, I think it's I don't know. I have a lot of ideas that come to my head, and not all of them are good ones. So I like to really think it through until I come up with like a very good plan. And the best plan I'd come up with is the one that I came up with years ago that I'm kind of sticking to is, we can force disclosure through technology. We can have alternative. We don't need the media. We don't need the government. We can try to do this all on our own. But the only way to really do that is, to continuously spread the network and spread the news to other people. So it's like, we're going to have to, buy out billboards and signs and, like find a way to compete with their mass media machine where they're putting out lies. We need to find a way to the only way to kill the lies is with the truth. And it's unfortunate that a lie will spread around the world 20 times before the truth has the time to put its shoes on. So we have to go by that. But you have to understand also that a lie has speed, but the truth has endurance. Right. So
I know you're a man of science, but have you ever considered that the reason why we may not be getting a disclosure is you must have heard that saying that we've been protected from something because people generally can't handle it. Have you ever considered that that could be actually factual information and that they are protecting us from something and it's not all about free energy? Or are you 100% on the money that it is about the free energy and just about fucking putting money in people's pockets, and that's why we don't
Well, I
get
mean,
it.
what's that there's aliens out there, something visiting us. We don't know what it is. I mean, these people are Christians. Some of them say that they're demons. They think that they're demons that are visiting us because they're just these advanced AI bots that maybe aren't thinking or emotional. They just do what they do for whatever reasons, and we don't maybe understand that. So we perceive them as just evil. I don't know. Maybe that's like the worst case scenario that I can imagine that they're trying to hide or protect us from. You know, that would be like the scariest worst case scenario type thing, is that there's something out there and we don't really know what it is, and no one knows what it is, and it's scary, and that's why we can't tell people about it, because it's just unknown, and it will cause panic, and that's the least of my worries. You know, yeah, I worry about, is there, could there be like a free energy technology that, you can, once we release it, then people can just blow up the world with, a bomb that they can make out of parts at Home Depot. They just know the recipe now. Yeah, that's, concerning. I don't want to do that. I don't want to we have people shooting up schools full of kids just to get attention, or for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe they're brainwashed by the government to do these things. I have no idea. They had, 168 sub projects at MK Ultra, where they learned how to master Manchurian candidates and programmed assassins and whatnot. So I wouldn't doubt the ability of mind control and what doctors and hypnotists and those kinds of people can do to someone in a poor state of mental health. I can only speculate, but as far as what they're doing to the public, it just let us, they're treating us like children. They're basically saying that you guys are too stupid to, have access or allowed privilege to be privileged to have this information. And, that I can understand that if that's the case, if this is all top secret, technologies that we're trying to hide, that would make more sense than it being aliens. And then you got, Carol Rawson saying that, Vern von Braun told me that, and this was in June of 2001, a couple months before 9/11. She's like, oh, they're going to have the first step's the communists. And then once the communist card runs out, the second card will be the terrorists. And they'll have the terrorists played. And then once the terrorist card runs out, the final card, the last and final card, will be the faked alien invasion. And which they're going to use to, basically, like Reagan said, oh, a threat from outside would unite us all under one. And that's the idea, is that they can fake a threat from outside and use that to unify the world, create a one world government. And then you got guys like Michio Kaku saying that we have to have a one world government in order to become a type 1 civilization and move forward with human progress. And I don't know. I feel like there's opportunists out there that are trying to set up total control state and keep us completely in the dark while they have all the information, and that's just dangerous. Because I don't care who you are, no one's smarter than all of us together. And to think that you can control information by keeping it in the hands of just a few people is the stupidest idea that I think anyone's ever, it's basically people that are greedy, that want to keep money and power and control for themselves. And that's all the CIA is essentially, from what I can see, that's what they've done and existed for, is to be an executor arm for the, financial deep state. That there's a financial deep state that controls everything. They're what's known as an international owning class. So they're not national. They're supranational. They don't have any allegiance to any country or government or anything in the world. Their only allegiance is to money, and they are essentially controlling our infrastructure through the financial assets, and they have since 1913, when they took over our banking system and replaced fiat currency with they replaced our currency with fiat, right? So this is a big issue for humanity, that we see wealth and we see money in terms of how we see we measure a country's GDP, for example, but as basically how quickly they can produce trash. And so, we don't realize that Daniel Corton wrote a great book called When Corporations Rule the World, and it's about what we're living under right now. That it's where our entire world is run and ruled by corporations. And the analogy of that is that we're on a spaceship called planet Earth, and no matter how big it is, you're basically measuring your productivity by how quickly you can harvest resources off acre 1 and dump the trash onto acre number 8.
Yeah, it's
And
interesting, Jeremy, you say that. I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was like one of the most decorated Vietnam veterans. He said, "I didn't fight for the country, I fought for the corporations," which I thought was really, really interesting.
It's true, yes, and that's how it's become. It's become governed by. These are almost like AIs. They're non-human, non-thinking. They're like have all the rights and protections that humans do, corporations do, but they have none of the responsibilities. So you can go create a corporation, then go murder a bunch of people under the corporation, and that becomes the corporation's fault, and you have no you've like exonerated yourself from liability. And it's really crazy what's going on. But the cowboys in the spaceship analogy is the analogy to us on humans on Earth, that we're just basically cowboys who don't realize that, who think that it's an infinite frontier, and it's not. We were running out of space. The world is not, huge. It's a small world after all. And it's man, we're more connected than people think. And I think,
Do you worry about AI, Jeremy?
AI? Oh yeah, the dangers from AI are, it's incredible when you think about the danger that AI poses to the future. I mean, anyone who hasn't, thought about it or
you've seen the memes, like Terminator memes, but yeah, I kind of feel that's kind of like closer to what it actually could be. Maybe not the fucking machines and that, but the fact that it'll get us to destroy one another.
Well, Boston Dynamics is right here in Boston, man. It's right down the street where they're building those Terminator robot dogs that could one day,
control civilization.
Their stuff is so cool. I remember seeing their videos years ago when they had like the mule ones that they kick them and they wouldn't fall over. I mean, they were that advanced 2003, 2004, that's those videos came out. Incredible stuff that they're doing. I can't imagine when you add the AI with them, God almighty, they're not going to need us, man. They're not going to need an army anymore. That's for sure. They're not going to need people. I know that the military's bitching about that. They don't have anybody signing up, but I think they maybe down the road, they already have a replacement for that. They're not really worried. They're going to fix it.
Yeah, that's why they have a lot of the armies turning to drones now, so these kids, they may not be able to figure out which restroom to use, the 18-year-olds these days, but they can actually really good at playing video games, so they're really good at flying drones and stuff. So that turns out to be super useful.
I've always wondered that if they've ever went to some of these, maybe they never have, but maybe they went to some of these gaming competitions, the MLG stuff, and kind of tapped some of these kids who are the best in the world and said, "Hey, you ever heard of the Navy? You ever heard of what we do here?" And you know what I mean? Because that's what they're doing. They're using controllers to kill stuff. I mean, they're some of the best in the world at doing it. This little 60-pound kid with blue hair sitting in his room somewhere playing a video game, he might be one of the deadliest killers on the planet. You don't even know it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. It's crazy.
Now with the emergence of AI, I don't think it need these people, because AI is going to be able to think for themselves, and it's going to be crazy, man. It's going to change everything, absolutely everything. It's going to change even like the sex industry, man. You won't need. It's going to be. Sorry, it's just coming to that situation.
It already has been. There already been like complaints because like women have complained because now you can like take a woman's face and create a whole AI porn out of that, and so like it's.
I would know.
It's created a lot of problems.
What do you think about Jeremy? What do you think about AI ends up cracking gravity for us? I mean, we already know that it's going back and it's figuring out our physics right now. How do we know that AI hasn't already done that, and then we're just kind of coming back from the future, already figured out at this point?
I don't know. I know that. Well, Apple revealed, right? So when was it Lex Friedman interviewed Lenny Susskind on his show? Lenny Susskind just couldn't keep his mouth shut and let the cat out of the bag about some things he probably wasn't supposed to talk about. But apparently, I think it was Google or Apple AI. I think it was Google AI hired Lenny Susskind, who was like the top, one of the top theoretical physicists in the world, to basically train their AI to do physics. And that was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever happened to that in that program? And you know, like he talked about it and he was real excited about it. You know, it's like, but you know, where did that ever go anywhere? Yes, you have to wonder. You have to be curious because they are doing it.
Oh, for sure. Somebody's trying. I mean, there's so much money involved in it. There's no way that they're not doing it. And it doesn't even matter what if they figured out in the last 5 years. I mean, we could even throw that aside and say, who cares? I mean, and then 20 years from now, 10 years from now, where's it going to be then? You know what I mean? The advancement on it is just, it's crazy how far and how exponential this could really go. The AI thing has really changed my mind on a lot of this UFO stuff, man, to where I've really looked at that as an absolute possibility that at some point in the future, or even now, or, you know, if they were figuring out AI better than we thought in the early 2000s and you had other companies that were working on it, did the AI already crack gravity for us? That's very possible, in my opinion. We could be coming back and looking at ourselves and seeing maybe where it went wrong, you know, where the AI started. You know, do you see where I'm going?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. It's definitely, you know, the potentials should not be underestimated for, you know, what might be able to be done. Although, you know, even the best deep fakes and other things, you know, like a lot of people can just tell certain things are AI, you know. Still, you know, we're not that level yet, but I mean,
But
give it a
how
little-
old is how old is the technology that the public has when it comes to AI?
Right.
It's yeah, it's a good question, but at the same time, it's like this is one of those newer fields where it's, you know, for a lot of years and a lot of things you could say that, you know, what the government has is, you know, 10, 20 years
That's
more
what I was going,
advanced
yeah,
than what the
ahead
public
of
has.
us. So they've got 10, 20 years ahead of us, AI.
I'm not sure. With this case, it's a new field. It's so fresh and emergent. It's hard to say because it's like, how can they have that much better and how could they really control it and prevent that, you know?
Because I know we say 10, 20 years, but in reality, did they 20 years ago, did they have better computers than what the top gamer's got in his bedroom right now? The government? Did they have a better computer than that?
Yeah, it's hard to say because they were doing interesting things with computation years ago. You know, like, you know, SETI had the whole program set up where they were crunching all the data through screensaver. You know, people's screensavers. You could download the SETI screensaver, and your computer could help crunch data for SETI in the background to help with some of the computation power. So that existed, you know, and they had systems for basically like breaking up the computation power over a network of computers so they could, you know, have more computing power. So that's existed, but you know,
I do think AI is gonna, if we put it to the test when it comes to finding planets with like Goldilocks zones, to finding planets that may have like similar sort of things that we have on this planet, that could be a massive advantage. But
yeah, because
if we get that far,
the AI has the ability to search out things and do that way faster than we do and just way more efficiently. So many things. I mean, like even just the best, you know, computer game player, like chess masters and stuff. So like they've really, you know, AI Go, what was it? The Go there, that movie. I remember watching that about the game Go. And that was just the start of it, man. It's just I can't imagine what it's going to be like in another 10 years. But hopefully we do crack. If someone hasn't already done it, hopefully we can do it. You know, because if you know we're I think it's definitely not 10 to 20 years more advanced with something like AI. It's maybe at most 5. So, like I said, like we're starting to make our own AI with that goes through our database on all the gravity papers and stuff we've trained. We're starting to train our AI with that stuff and already finding some interesting. It's already been able to navigate some of those that paper, the papers in that library, because it's just too much for any one person to sit there and read and go through. The AI can do it so much more effectively and find you what you're looking for. So we've already started to do that, but if Google's 5 years ahead of us, then they might have found something, but it's only a matter of time until someone else, follows that same path and comes to those same things. So yeah, I hope that we'll be able to do it one day. That's if, Mike McCulloch and the IVO team haven't cracked gravity already. So hopefully they did.
Jeremy, we're like, so we speak about getting this far together, all of us, but with UFO Twitter, Twitter X, UFO X, and all the different platforms around now, Rumble, YouTube, and the people that are the community that are not content creators. Do you think the community is being infiltrated by, is it just bots, or do you think we've got a lot of like them that are maybe in the chat, I don't know, but all over? Do you think they are there and they are doing a job?
Well, there's a few. I mean,
I don't mean trolls, by the way. Let me
the thing
clarify.
is, right?
I mean people that are actually at work.
It may be a few, but honestly, it's just easier for them and less conspicuous for them to just promote and push bad actors to the forefront. It's easier for them to discreetly, go out there and tell someone, hey, this I think that this murderer that you're interviewing is a great source, and you should move forward with this, this guy as a source. I'm just saying, whatever the case is. There's, Mark Richards, for example, right? So I could be like, oh, you're promoting good information, and I'm going to help promote that. It's much easier if I'm the CIA to be like, listen, we're going to have CNN run with the Corbell story versus, the story about the graphene aero balloons. It's just easier for them to hide information they don't want out there by ignoring it and just flooding the atmosphere with bad information, and people are just naturally will do a lot of these things themselves in some of these cases. But yeah, I assume that there are some bad actors. I've interacted with a few people out there and stuff, and then there's some other people that they just hype up and get them to think that they're doing this good deed to become these attack dogs to go out and attack and dox other people, like they're like I don't get that, because there are those people out there on UFO Twitter and other places that they will go and try to dox you or go after and attack anyone who's sort of going against whatever narrative that seems to be the one that is the mainstream one that they want to push to everyone and have everyone follow. And there are bad actors, like there are counterintelligence people that come into ufology and pretend to be heroes, and I'm not going to name any names on that, but
No, I didn't expect you to name names. Don't worry, I won't put you on the spot. I'm curious because over the last couple of the years, there's a few telling signs to stuff that's going on.
Right.
It seems very different.
That's a good point, because there's never going to be proof that someone is a CIA asset, or that I could be working for the Pentagon, and there'll never be proof of that, right? But there will be signs, and that's important.
So what will the signs? What sort of signs should we look for?
Well, the legitimacy of your sources. So it's all about the sources. I say, like that's what you have to look for, is at the end of the day, where are you getting information from, and what sources are you using, and what are you doing to further this movement and push it downfield? Because does everyone, I've attacked people too, like I've come out again and said like, I think this is bullshit, and stuff. And everyone does that. We're all no one's ever going to agree on everything. But at the end of the day, I think if you're trying to get good sources and push information out there and move this ball forward down the field, that's going to be apparent. And if you're just playing a game and stalling and running around in circles and pretending to play football on the field, it's going to play out over time, right?
Yeah. Ice cream before I get Jeremy into trouble. You got some more questions?
Huh? Who, me?
Yeah. Well, Nick, I feel like I don't want to get the guy.
No. I just I'm definitely interested to see what you do going forward, man. I thought your conversation with Bassett the other night was pretty interesting, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be cool to see what happens going forward. I don't know. For me, man, it's just I'm getting to the point with this where I've listened to Art Bell since I was a kid with my dad. I've went through this stuff for years and years and years, and I'm finally getting to the point where I'm just getting sick of it. I'm getting sick of not getting anywhere with as far as whether the government's going to tell us or if we're going to have a whistleblower like someone like Rush come out. I'm just getting tired of it, dude. And I think a lot of people are. And I think a lot of people over the next year or 2 years are going to start looking for other options. And that's where I think you guys could come in strong, without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, if that's the name of their game, I think if they're trying to run a counterintelligence operation, what they're going to try to do is overhype, underdeliver, and a repeated cycle of that is an attempt to demoralize and burn out. It's burnout, so that's exactly what you're experiencing: demoralization and burnout. And that's what they want to see this entire community do: crash and burn. And
yeah, I always wondered if that was Elizondo's plan. That long ago, I kind of wondered, is that what's going on? Were they trying to fill this giant hope balloon and finally sink this whole ufology topic for the last time? Because Blue Book didn't sink it. Grudge didn't sink it. All these other attempts that they've had, that, even with Greer and his whole situation, bringing all these whistleblowers back in the day, nothing came of that, and that didn't sink it. And they're kind of like, Lou says, I want to destroy ufology. Dude, look at how things are going right now. It is on a downward trend right now. 100%. Yeah. I don't think you can argue that. Like, we've took hit after hit after hit the last couple of years. It looking like that is possibly maybe the plan.
Well, then again, and I point out that what they're doing in the mainstream with the physics argument and the science argument. So they put out this big thing recently with Lawrence Krauss and Nick Pope being the ultimate physics debate on UFOs. And it's like, come on, this guy hasn't published a decent book on he published the physics of Star Trek and 20 years ago. Lawrence Krauss did, and that was just, I look at stuff like that and I'm like, this is being staged. It's more staging and set up because they want people and Lawrence Krauss is sitting there in the arguments. He's like, how come no scientists are taking this seriously? And Nick Pope's like, I don't know.
Well, because there's fucking mummies that aren't real, dude, and stuff like that happens, and
but Nick sat next to me at the Secret Space Conference in California. He watched my presentation on all the technologies and what the science community is really doing on this stuff, and he said nothing. He didn't stand up for anything, and it's just like, come on, dude, I'm not going to stand up for Nick Pope anymore. After that, he won't stand up for us and stand up for science and stand up for legitimate information and truth, bro. I'm never going to stand up for that guy ever again.
We invited Nick. Lee invited Nick Pope on, and he sent us a very polite email back and said, "I'm not doing interviews right now."
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but why? What's the point of having Nick Pope? He's done nothing for ufology in 30 years.
I just wanted a fellow Englishman.
He said one thing that annoys me. He says he doesn't believe in any conspiracy theories and stuff like that. But he's doing a bloody live shows on bloody Ancient Aliens, which is all about conspiracy theories.
It's funny. Nick Pope, I call him a chameleon because it all depends on who he's sitting next to as the colors he'll show. It all depends on what interview he's on the stage with, because he'll be a different guy when he's sitting next to George Tsoukalos than when he's sitting next to Lawrence Krauss or Mick West. It's a different person every time. So,
yeah. Nick Pope is if the mainstream media needs someone to talk about UFOs, they call Nick Pope. Guarantee he's always there on TV to give off his narrative, and his catchphrase is, "I can't confirm or deny, but I'm not ruling it out." I guarantee he will say that.
Yeah. And he always poses,
yeah,
he always presents himself as an expert on conspiracy theories. But I've had table dinner conversations with him, and I'm like, you don't know half of like this stuff, man.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, he was the big Rendlesham guy, though, right?
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
You've had dinner with Nick Pope?
Yeah, out at the Secret Space Conference, we had dinner afterwards. Yeah.
Did he get super drunk?
No, he didn't. I don't even think
No.
I don't even know if he drank at all, man. It was like,
Oh, he drinks, all right. Trust me, I've heard some stories about Nick Pope, so don't worry.
oh, maybe he did. Maybe he had a couple, but yeah, it was an interesting dinner. I have pictures of that somewhere. I'll send them to you on. I'll send them to you on Twitter.
Nice,
Awesome.
nice.
Awesome.
Jeremy, can I ask Jeremy just a quick
Yeah,
question?
man. Shoot.
Jeremy, are you going to make that aerogel Tic Tac then? Are you going to go ahead and be going to be doing that soon?
Well, I'm going to look into it, man. It seems like we got enough people interested that we can make a decent size, pill-shaped piece of graphene aerogel. We could certainly try, the heat lamps and some of the other stuff that we saw in those videos. That would make for some pretty interesting footage, right? To see
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really
a little
cool.
Tic Tac and flew it around the room.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
It's better than the Tic Tac videos that we got from the government. Better than what Elizondo brought
how
out.
would you get a piece of aerogel to accelerate to the speeds that like Fravor's talking about?
Well, acceleration is the speed and acceleration are two different things. So, but I don't know. We're gonna try
get it
to
to float first.
See if we can get it to. Well, they showed that puck in the video I demonstrated earlier.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And that's a real video.
Do you have that? You can bring that up and show the guys.
Yeah, I guess we can play it once here on the show, so you guys can see, because I don't think I've shown it on here. But
I recommend you all go over to Alien Sciences after the show, though, and watch the interview. Very good talking about aerogel. I caught about half an hour of it on the toilet. Yes, that's how long. I'm a grown man. It takes me to go to the toilet. Just this
is just infrared light, like a heat lamp, and it's cooled with these hoses are liquid water that's water cooled, so that this can stay cool. So that
Oh man, that's super cool.
It's just the light that's interacting with. This is a piece of aerogel, and just shining light on it causes lift.
It's amazing.
Which I want to build a Tic Tac and fly it around, man. This is
so nothing heat at all is going on there. It's just light.
Yeah, well, it's like a heat lamp, I guess.
I guess,
maybe
yeah.
The heat lamp light heats up the surface of this and causes it to be. It's kind of like a hot air balloon where you heat, the hot air.
That's
the hot air rises.
You play that again. You play that again.
So you're thinking like the sun, right? The sun essentially is what could be moving these outside.
Well, if you have a source up in the sky, you could focus the sun, right? So that the sun alone is not intense enough, right?
Yeah, I wondered. Yeah.
There's that other video that I had where he showed. There's another video on here. Give me 1 second. I'll bring that video up next. But that one that they have to magnify the sun with a magnifying glass. And once they magnify the sun on the object, it does it. Can you just pull that down for a second?
Yeah, mate.
Switch videos, mate, real quick. This one right here. All right. See, he takes a magnifying glass and he shines it on the aerogel underneath the. I don't know if you can bring this up again. Yeah, this one. When he shines the magnifying glass on it, it lifts up.
Holy, I did not
really
see
cool.
that.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you almost got to have like a, if you had one of these satellite with the laser, one of these directed energy defense initiative satellites, the Star Wars program built in the 80s under Reagan. you could maybe lift these things up and fly them around.
So instead of projecting a hologram, you would do this instead. So it's an
Right.
actual object.
It's kind of like you're inducing instead of inducing the plasma to project the hologram, you're just shining it on the surface of this aerogel, which makes it float like a hot air balloon.
Could you do it? For example, the sun or the light or anything, could you get it to go the other way down again?
Yeah, I guess you could get it to, it will let it just cool off
if you
and
get
drop.
if you get something like that with like a small drone in space, like, and you can get it to move in the opposite direction rather than towards the sun, that's going to pick up some fucking speed.
Right.
Yeah, I assume you'd have some kind of system though that either intensifies the light, brings it down, so you could control it. It's like an RF signal essentially, right? But it's different. It's moving for light.
Yeah, so you could just shine light on it with a laser, and it would move it around by heating it. I think it's the heat action that actually moves it. It's the heating on the surface of it.
I think you'd have to do something like, have you ever seen that film Sunshine, where you've got where it's got the big massive the big heat shield that's going against the sun, but something that could reflect the sun round to the piece, so the piece just pulls it. Would it pull it? Essentially, could it, because you're in zero gravity?
Yeah. I assume it would work in a vacuum. I don't see why it wouldn't work in a vacuum. I would like to see some tests. So that a lot of people pointed that out. We want to see if it works, we want to see it work in a vacuum. So we're going to do that test. Hopefully, if we build this thing, we can run that test and others. But yeah, I can't wait to just play around with it, because I don't know all the answers to this.
Sure.
Yet, and it's still like,
But
is it hard to get a hold of a lot of that aerogel at one time? I have no idea about it. Is it tough to get a hold of?
It's pretty expensive, and to produce. I've I asked Michael about it, like, oh, can we produce this? And he's like, yeah, it's not easy. It's not cheap either.
So it's not like a case of a bit of like flour, a bit of
yeah, man. It's not like I can go buy $1 a pound. I don't know how much it would cost to buy a.
Who did it? When was it first invented?
I guess the 1930s. It was first invented, the original aerogel, and there's a whole paper on it by this guy. Where's the guy that we went over this guy already? He was I don't know where this is now. Everything's.
What was it made for originally?
He was like a chemist at DuPont or something. Let me see, aerogel, and he was just. I'll find the guy's name in 1 second. Hold on. You can just look up the Wikipedia article on aerogel. Yeah, Samuel Stevens Kistler in 1931.
Wow.
And I guess he was a grad student at the time doing his PhD, and came up with this the process of so I just learned a little bit about it. We interviewed that guy who was sort of the expert on the aerogels today, and talked to him for almost 2 hours, and I still have more questions. So
yeah, it's definitely very neat, man. You guys might stumble onto something. You never know.
Yeah, I want to build something and play around with it, man. If we could, well, the whole idea is that he says is he's created this, the aerogel that they created in the 1930s and stuff was it's very brittle, so it breaks apart. But he said that the new aerogels that they developed, he had a piece of this, and it's like it weighs like nothing, and it's super strong and durable. So what they can actually do is they make a big balloon out of this stuff, and they can suck all the air out, so it's a vacuum inside.
Are they essentially doing something with like how metamaterials work when to make that durable? Like with the whole I'm not a scientist. I ain't a scientific bone in my body, but I've seen that stuff and how it's interlinked
I don't know the material science well enough to answer that. I don't know if it's actually a metamaterial by definition. But it's definitely the material science, the structure of it. It's basically it's 99% air or something, right? So it's basically like you make it with alcohol in it, and then you dry it out. The alcohol evaporates and comes out, and what's left is just this aerogel, which most of it's actually just empty space and air. And if you can combine that super lightweight structure with, no pressure, then, you created something that's lighter than, you could fill it with hydrogen gas, but that would actually be heavier, right? Than sucking all the air out of it and making a vacuum. So these things are super light. And if you were to take one of these things that's buoyant up at, 30,000, 40,000 feet, and then you bring it down to sea level, it's going to be like taking a beach ball 20 feet underwater. You let that thing go, and it's just going to right to the surface, right? Really fast. And he
Like
pointed
stuff
that
that's
out, and I
not-
was
stuff
like, wow,
that's
if you
going in
take
and
one
out
of
of the
these and you
water.
took it down to sea level and let it go, it would just shoot up into the atmosphere like super fast. And that could look a lot like some of these UFO sightings that people have seen, and captured on radar.
Sure. And it would be strong enough to like withstand the G forces.
Yeah,
Without
absolutely.
without
Yeah.
imploding? Yeah.
Because the G force, right? Force equals ma. F equals ma is Newton's second law of physics, right? So if you have m that's really, really small, your F divided by m
I
is
get
going
it.
to
Yeah.
make a really large acceleration. So you're going to have huge accelerations with just a little bit of force.
There's not as much gravity on it, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, it's not gravity. It's called inertial mass.
Okay.
So
I was just thinking
inertia and
because
gravity.
it doesn't have as much mass, there wouldn't be as much of a gravitational effect on it, and that's why you wouldn't have that. I mean, I know nothing, man. This is just from what I'm, high school shit, college stuff.
Gravity is not the same. So gravity acts on all masses sort of equally. It's the force of it's going to be it's sort of everywhere. But it's inertia. So it's basically like your inertia is like your resistance to change in direction. So it's how much, like how hard it is to get you moving and how hard it is to stop, so the heavier something is, it's harder to throw it. It's harder to stop it. Right?
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
And if something weighs basically nothing, you can take a 90-degree turn and it doesn't cost you this. It's not as,
Yeah. You're not trying to, pull the brakes on a train, it's way lighter.
right.
You can just turn it. I get that makes sense. Yeah. That's cool, dude.
Yeah, so the science is legit. It's everything checked out. Now I can't wait to make some of this stuff and actually play around with it. Because this stuff was created as a silica-based aerogel. He made it with silica through this supercritical drying or freeze drying to extract the liquid. So that's how they produced the original ones. So they do a similar process with the graphene aerogel, where they make the aerogel forms in this liquid, and then they freeze dry it to evaporate all that liquid, I think. And that what you're left with is this structure, which is mostly air. It's mostly empty space. But so that is it's some interesting stuff. It definitely
Yeah, because why would you care about a pilot at that point? If you want to make 90-degree turns, you're not putting a pilot in the thing anyway. Who
No,
cares?
but have you
about that
thought
situation? Yeah.
how are you going to get the stuff on something so light to maneuver it?
Yeah, so you're gonna have to even maneuverability. Yeah, because you need
Because as soon
battery
as you
power.
add something, you add weight.
And this is what he's saying, is that you don't need that the surface acts like the battery itself. Like you don't need batteries or other stuff. You can beam all that stuff from outside. So
But that's just by the sun. So that would be, you'd need something.
like a magnifying glass. Yeah. or
Yes,
something.
you'd need something to control it from above to maneuver it. Whether
Yeah.
that is satellite technology,
Unless you have this thing that's negative buoyancy, so it's floating like a balloon. Then you just have it tethered. Then it can float there. And then it gets interesting. If they're building drones out of this stuff that can fly, they can really do it with very limited controls and stuff.
Going back to your Tic Tac theory, and again, I'm no scientist, but I could see how they could make a fucking, if the Tic Tac was made out of aerogel, and they had ships out at sea and satellites in the air, to how they could control that thing with directional light, if they've got that technology,
Right.
Coming from all directions, like if they've got some sort of technology on them ships and the satellites pointing in all different directions, pointing the light, they would get that thing to move instantaneously.
I imagine it would look almost instantaneously, and with the small amount of power, the accelerations that you could get out of that, with the small amount of force, because it's so lightweight, would look like it's defying physics.
I think that's the most intelligent thing I've said.
I just
Can I
wonder,
show you
Jeremy,
a
and I
video?
don't know how far you are ahead at looking at this. I just wonder, to make that something worth their while, though. I mean, they're still going to have to put sensor systems on it and things like that, though, right? I mean, how does that change the mass of it at that point? I don't know. I mean, if you want to put a missile on it or to carry the damn thing or something, you're going to have to. That's going to have to cause weight and bring inertia more into play again at that point.
Yeah,
I don't know
anything
how that
you
works.
add to the aerogel thing at that point is, but again, and then you have to build it big enough. If you're going to fly a person in it, you got to build it really big and stuff. So it sounds
Please do
cool and
that.
stuff, but yeah, I definitely think there might be more to what's going on out there. And I'm not saying that, this explains every UFO sighting.
No, I don't
in
think you're doing
history.
that. Yeah, that's
Or
fine.
is, I leave it to people out there if they want to decide that, yeah, I think this could explain the Tic Tac, but it also could be something else, so
Yeah.
I'm not
Can I
saying
show you
that.
something that looks? Can I show you guys something that looks like a Tic Tac, or possibly could be a Tic Tac? Have you heard of
Absolutely.
experimental hover vehicle? Have you heard about that experimental hover vehicle? Because I found this video and it looks just like what a UFO maneuver's like. Check this out. So this is in 1989, and this is an experimental hover vehicle. But look what it can do. And it can twist and turn and do 360-degree angles. Is absolutely crazy.
Do you know what it's running on?
It's I think it's just piston engines. It's just basically I muted it because it's basically just like small little rockets. But look what it can actually do. So the whole, it looks like a Tic Tac. So the whole cylinder itself have these piston jets, and it can literally hover in the air and stay there. I mean, look at that. That looks like a bloody UFO.
It's also got the jets shooting out. You could see the propulsion, so it's shooting these little bits of jet jettisoning. I don't know what those jets are, if it's propane run or what. But yeah, that's super. I've seen this before once a while back. This is interesting stuff.
I mean,
they definitely have some
easily
technology
perfected
out there
this.
like that, but I really feel like the Tic Tac's got to be something. It's either a warp drive craft or it's like an aerogel block that they're flying around with lasers, man. Like, because it didn't have the
Yeah.
jets. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd just show you guys. I thought it looks quite interesting. I found it the other day. I thought, wow, it's the same maneuverability of a flying saucer, I guess, or what we're seeing in the sky.
That's cool. I have to find that.
Yeah, someone put a comment saying about.
I want to know what the invention was and where that's from.
Find that out, Nick.
Sure.
I'll
put the link over to you if you want.
If you flew a Tic Tac sized piece of it, it's okay. So say if you flew a piece of aerogel, yeah, the size of a jet engine into a jet engine, what would happen to that jet engine? Nothing. Or would they say, is it flammable? Aerogel? Would it do anything? I'm
Well,
just
it's-
wondering. I'm wondering how you'd use it as a weapon without.
Yeah, I
it-
think it's flammable. I think it's actually flammable, and it's very lightweight, but it's also very brittle and easy to break apart. So I think if you had like a chunk, like if I had a chunk and I threw it into a intake of a jet engine, it would just probably rip apart and burned up and come out the other side. I don't think it would. It's not heavy enough to like.
You don't think it would? So it wouldn't affect a plane.
I don't know. It's
I'm
hard to
wondering how
say.
you'd
Man.
use it as a weapon.
I'd like to see some.
How do we weaponize it?
Yeah, how do you weaponize it? You know, because it's not like these
Weaponize your
kinetic energy
curiosity.
weapons. The opposite of that, because you have very little kinetic energy because it's so lightweight. So how would you, basically, so that you have the Chinese spy balloons, right? So the Chinese spy balloons are very interesting, high-tech balloon that can adjust its altitude to catch wind currents. So it can kind of maneuver to a certain extent where it's going to go by moving up or down, like 10, 20,000 feet. It can adjust its altitude by these buoyancy tanks and stuff, and that's very similar to these boundary layer pressure balloons that I talked about before, where they can adjust them, make those adjustments so they're maneuverable to a certain extent through that. And those are useful because you can put some cameras or some RF equipment on those things pretty easily and float them into your enemy's country and get some data back. So that I suppose it would be a more for reconnaissance. And again, the guy interviewed, he said that that's what he believes that these were used for with that Calvine UFO. He thinks that it was this surveillance drone that they were testing out because they were going to deploy it in the Gulf War too.
UFO chick says, could it not be laser-induced plasma filaments?
Look at her breaking out her physics degree, huh? She's from the CIA the whole time. It's been her.
I'll bet she's from CIA. Yeah,
Plasma
100%.
filaments. So laser-induced plasma is like when they shoot they get two lasers. If you cross the beams over in the air, it can induce a plasma in the air. But what's the filaments part? Because I don't know if I know what she's referring to. What is a filament is like a string, for example, tungsten filament in a light bulb, or a filament from like fiber optic filament. I'll have to look into that. Laser induced plasma filaments. Because sometimes that one word.
There you go. Bet she got him typing. It's a good sign.
Makes it something. Okay. They're filaments, as they call them, because they're okay. Now I understand what they're calling them the filaments for. Right. It's because they can LIPF. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's like the filament of a light bulb that you're just basically triggering a light in the air to be your filament. Is that I think that's what that word means in there. Oh, I don't know. I never saw the filament stuff in any of the stuff I've read on this before. But yeah, I guess it's just talking about creating a filament out of the air itself, just like a tungsten filament in a light bulb produces light when you run electricity to it. You're running electricity through the air. And
well, isn't that what fucking what's his name did? Who did that whole holding a light bulb, lighting it up?
Tesla did that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
The
fluorescent light
bifilar
bulb, is that
coil.
what you're talking about?
What's that name?
Wasn't it the fluorescent light bulb that Tesla was holding? That was using the frequencies in the room to power the light bulb or something like that, if I remember that rightly.
Hmm.
You can get one of those.
I think you're onto something with this Tic Tac with the aerogel.
It's definitely interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it does work, build one so you can actually fly in it.
That means we've got
Really, really
insane
cool to see.
to maneuver it though. That means we've got insane fucking laser technology, because those, you can't put anything on a piece of aerogel, otherwise it's just going to sink. Am I right by saying that?
Yeah, I don't know that you could put your laser system right on your aerogel craft or whatever, but you could certainly, if you have
No, but
three.
you could do it from the Earth or from space to point at the aerogel, but the aerogel
Yeah.
itself's got no technology. It's just the shape.
So you probably like need 3 satellites to triangulate the beams, so that you can get like full vector control, because otherwise it's going to be hard with just 2. But I would definitely want them as space-based, because from what I see, the light, it goes towards the light what you're shining on. So if you have them ground-based, you're just going to be pulling it back to the ground. So in order to get it up in the air, you'd have to have these things in space. But then comes the question, no, well, because they're just heating it, so they're not pulling on the satellites. So I wouldn't pull the satellites down, because you're just shining energy down and then heating this thing, and it's sort of lifting. That's a good question, because we want to see if it works in a vacuum, and I want to see if it works, because that.
Yeah, they'd have to adjust the heat of that laser, though. You'd have to be able to control that, because I mean, if you wanted to slow it down a little bit, less force on the other direction, because if you had a laser pushing it this way at a certain force and then the same force, you're not, it's not going to go anywhere. You're gonna have to be able to turn one of them down a little bit. You know what I mean? You'd have a hell of a control system to try to do that, for sure. A lot more than 20 years ahead. That sounds like maybe 100 years ahead or something. That's wild stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely, the targeting on something like that too. So to be able to shine down a laser from that far away and get it exact, lasers typically have what's called beam divergence, which is, like you shine your laser pointer at this at a surface 10 feet away, and your thing's this big, and then as you go 20 feet away, it grows 30 feet.
Right.
Away, the beam diverges, so you get beam divergence.
If this is made of aerogel, what? Let's just say they do exist. The little like coat hanger things on the bottom. Could they be used to maneuver it in terms of how, like almost like a what you call it? What's it called on a ship? The
mast, like a mast, yeah,
like a mast on the ship. Could that be used to maneuver it? Maybe with some sort of mirror technology or something. I don't know. Because the one thing that people have always put on the Tic Tac is the 2 little weird things on the bottom of it, which I've always thought it does seem like some sort of like, it looks like a maneuvering device. Like you can imagine it like shifting, but how would you get something so small, like some sort of technology, like a small chip or some sort of mechanism to make it twist and move?
Really, I know. And then when I asked Sal Pays about the Tic Tac too, right? So that was another great moment in the Sal Pays interview, because I was like, because he has a patent where he describes the surface of what these things are, and he describes it as this ceramic material. So like a white ceramic material. And I'm like, well, could this, be, if you made a Tic Tac out of this ceramic material, like what would it look like, and what would be some of the things? And he was saying, oh, well, it would be based on microwave technology. And, you remember the Tic Tac had these antennas hanging out. They look awful lot like microwave antennas or microwave emitters. So yeah, there's lots of great ideas out there and hypotheses on how this thing might actually work and what it actually might be.
If you had to guess, I mean, what do you think is the front runner theory though, at this point?
Aliens? No,
I mean, it kind of is though, and in some respects. I mean, I still don't believe there's any way that if the Tic Tac is ours and we got technology like that and we figured that out in the 50s, I still don't buy that we didn't reverse engineer it, man. Other physicists would have figured it out by now. I don't know if it's possible for them back then to be able to figure this out with no one else today even figuring it out yet.
I know that one gets me a lot too, because it's like, well, if they figured it out in 1950s, like Stephen
Yeah.
Greer says, you know, then we would have got it by now. I mean, we would have got this by now. I'm pretty sure, but
I'm still waiting for somebody to push me off of that hill. If that's the last thing that holds me on thinking that there's some kind of phenomena there. If you could prove to me that other people figured it out and they also kept it secret, then I'll go ahead and give it to you, man. I'll say it's all ours. There was no aliens. There's no nothing. But you got to prove to me they figured this shit out in the 50s by themselves, man. I have never seen anyone be able to do that yet. Yeah.
Well, that'd be amazing, man. If you could get Tesla coils and aerogels, right? Both those things existed in the 40s. Man, what if you could find a way to build what if they did figure out, and these were the Foo Fighters, they got these spheres of aerogel flying around.
Yeah, hey, it's possible. I'm open to it. I mean, for sure. I'm not going to shut anything down. If somebody brings me something that says, hey, look, this is what it is. Hey, we got to say what it is. But
yeah.
I just don't see nothing like a Tic Tac, man. I've heard so many people say, well, look at the technology we had with the SR-71. Dude, the SR-71's nothing like a Tic Tac, bro. There's no comparison to technology there. It's not a good example. I think it's like one of the worst examples that people use. And I always, when people are always like, oh, we knew this much. And look at the SR-71. I'm like, you know nothing, dude. That's usually kind of where I rule you out at that point.
Right, because I was talking about that earlier with I forgot. I should have said this on air, and I'm glad that we're saying it now. But the Battle of Los Angeles, right? They shot at that thing for hours, and it didn't. I mean, what would happen if you have aerogel? Could you have an aerogel balloon and shoot at it, and it wouldn't fall? I'm curious about all that stuff now.
Yeah.
That was heavy artillery they were shooting at that thing. It wasn't like AK-47 stuff like
that
that.
one
It was big
seems
machinery.
like that's one of the ones that I put in the alien category, where I'm just like, no, I don't know how you explain that away.
Didn't you have people like miles away that was getting like bits of shrapnel coming down on them and stuff because they shot that much shit up there?
Yeah, they unloaded on that thing with anti-aircraft fire for hours, and it just stayed there in complete defiance of our entire military. Yeah. And then you have other cases like the Foo Fighters and the what is the Japanese Airlines case there with the one over Alaska, where they saw that massive UFO. Those are my top 3 UFO cases where I'm just like, I got nothing, man. It's my best science. Like,
It's real, man.
Yeah, I think it's for sure real. Yeah,
Truth's out there.
Yeah.
There is something out there, I must say, that defies all conventional explanations and stuff. But and I'm not saying that. I mean, maybe if we come up with some, breakthrough video where we fly this piece of aerogel around and we get it to look like a Tic Tac, then I might be a little bit more convinced. But,
Jeremy, can you do me a favor? If you manage to get enough of it, can you make another shape and just test it against a Tic Tac? I'm sure you already thought of that anyway, but can you make like a circle, a Tic Tac shape, maybe another shape, and see what works best? And if go with that. Just try different shapes to see which is the most maneuverable.
It's a good point. Maybe like the pill shape is good. You could maybe somehow magnetize it too, so that it has a north and a south or something. I don't know. I'd like to try.
The little rudder things, though, I don't know how they would, because if it's a mechanism, surely it put some weight on it. If it's got something to make it maneuver, unless that is itself more aerogel and it's been molded so it's got a locking device where it's been plugged in and it will maneuver, because it will maneuver when you hit the light at that piece of tiny piece. Think of it's insane, but
yeah. And we were talking about that too, like ways to trap the light in it, ways to like maybe you could coat the aerogel with metamaterials too.
how would you get it to go underwater?
Yeah, that's another thing too, because the aerogel is 90% air. Would it be able to go in and out of the water? And yeah, I guess So I
Because that's
guess
what Fravor reported. That thing
a lot of
went.
these aerogels are actually really watertight. They're actually they're airtight and watertight as well. So, um, yeah, it's again a lot of these. There's so much room for experimentation,
For
and
sure, yeah, for sure.
just reminds us how little we truly know at the end of the day.
And if it is controlled by light, and you've got, say you have got these ships, satellites, whatever, shooting stuff at them, you've also got our sun. How do we like get rid of the sun? You know,
Yeah, that's true. And like, does that limit the time of day? You can only fly these things from like 10 to 2 because the sun's once it goes beyond that angle, it just pulls them. It doesn't pull them up anymore. It pulls them too far to the side. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Tic Tac sighting was broad day, right? He said, I think Fravor said cloudless sky, and
What time of day was it too? That's a good question.
I think it was the afternoon, sometime, if I remember right. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, I have to look up those details again,
Yeah.
and they matter.
we
Well, I
just
gotta
want
get
our, we
going,
just want
guys.
our
So
input, Jeremy. You know, we want to play
we're at the
science
end
for a minute.
anyway, boys. Yeah,
yeah, this is a great discussion. I have tons of stuff that I want to go try in my lab, and
Jeremy, who you got on next before you go? Have you got any interviews lined up? Have you what's going on?
I have a couple up my sleeve. I'm trying to get
Lazar.
Simon Holland on because he was
Lazar.
a fun guy he'd be a fun guy to talk to.
Yeah,
He's-
definitely.
I got a couple guys that I have lined up. I don't want to spoil anything, but I have some interesting topics. Just digging down different rabbit holes all the time. So we'll see. I got to get a couple more in before the end of the year here. So
And the show that you've literally just done a few hours ago, that is live, right? That it was live. It's not live now. That's all about the aerogels. With who was the guest again?
my guest was oh God, what is his name?
I did listen. It's fine. I'm glad it's not just me.
Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. Let me just bring it up real quick. He's right on here. Oh, Joshua Bertrand. That's his name. Joshua Bertrand was the scientist's name, and he was on Professor Simon Holland's channel and did a number of interviews and talks on there, and that's how I found out about this. And then a guy, Paul there is the one that connected us. He was in the live chat. You'll see a lot of his comments there on that video if you watch it. But he's the one that actually connected me with Joshua, and yeah, he's an interesting guy to talk to, and that just made me have a lot of hope too, because he's saying, hey, look, I'm a scientist and I'm dying of cancer, so I got nothing to lose. I'm going to come forward with this information and stuff, and I'm just, like, there's got to be more people like that out there that are going to come forward, man. If this can't be the end of that. So
Definitely, mate. Yeah, I mean, I only saw a little bit of that. It was about half an hour of your live stream, but I'm gonna go to bed now because my missus is out, so I'm gonna take a couple of beers. I'm gonna watch the full thing. So everybody else in the chat, head on over, go do it.
appreciate that, man.
Jeremy, you're doing a stellar job, mate.
Yeah, for sure.
We
Yeah,
need people like you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
guys. We need more people like you guys. Yeah, I enjoy the commentary. I enjoyed the show up until I came and took it over for you guys. Sorry about that. So
No.
Don't
No, it's
apologize. It's
interesting,
good to
man.
have you on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Definitely, guys.
Ice cream. What you got going on next?
Sunday, we're talking to Stephen Bassett, 7:15 on
you
Terrestrial
go.
Material, Eastern
I'm trying
time.
to get Sheen on, man. That's my next big one. I'm trying to get on, but
Yeah.
Steve's cool, dude. I'm gonna tune in for that for sure.
Yeah, it should be fun, man. Obviously, I've listened to him for years. It'll be cool to finally get to talk to him, and I just want to get his take on really what's going on with this, what's left with this amendment, what's possible, man. He looks at all this stuff so much more. It's going to be interesting to talk to him.
And Nick, I know your documentary, your video that you've just been doing. You've literally lost the whole files.
I am done with editing. I'm done with my laptop. So change of plan. I'm going to do what Jeremy does. I basically,
We were
I've
just
got
speaking
everything
about this
planned out.
before.
I'm just going to exactly. So I'm going to put the camera roll in, and I'm just going to go through everything. I can knock out in a day. So I'm going to do that next week. And I'm going to be going live before Christmas. It's going to be a nice, relaxed sort of episode. It's going to be. There's too many UFO channels out there. I'm not saying it's good to get all people's good opinions on the matter, but it's going to be a nice sort of relaxed. Have a beer, smoke a joint, good times, good videos and stuff like that. So yeah, something a bit different. So I'll keep you all posted. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, people, again, we're going to go live on Sunday, and I don't know if Ashton Forbes will be joining us or not, but it'll be Lee and Dave, and it's going to be MH360 for the last 360, 370 for the last time. Yeah, but I don't think I will say this. I kind of like the whole MH370X. I think Ashton's done a real good thing there. And he's come out and he's admitted that, the evidence speaks for itself. That's going to be this Sunday. Ashton may join us. I don't know. But I have a lot of respect for that man. He's got integrity. He got it wrong. And he put his hand up and said, this is wrong. But without further ado, I'm going to let you guys get off. Heading over to Alien Scientists. Watch the show after this one, because you want to learn something, because you're not going to learn anything here.
That's not true.
Good night. God bless, people. Mind the bugs don't bite. Alien Addict, like, share, and subscribe. All that jazz.
This stuff is landing or crashing around the world, and unexpected countries have had this happen. And that's why I picked that, because I thought that was a interesting case. And then, of course, Pope Pius XII and the Vatican were involved, back-channeling it through the OSS, which became the CIA later, to FDR. And that's how the U.S. knew something weird happened in Italy right before World War II. But
so this was 33 was the first documented.
I have been working in this area for about 33 years.
You figure they've got unlimited funds. And that's what scares me about the whole thing. They have unlimited funds where they could literally buy a seat in Congress, which I know that'd be naive of me to think that that's never happened in the past. But in Tennessee, we are fairly independent people, and that bothers me a great deal.
Well, it's just interesting. I mean, that they're willing to go to that effort. You'd think they say, oh, Burchett, he's crazy, he believes in UFOs. But they're very threatened by this, which tells you that they've got something to hide that implicates them.
On a second note, we've got a great show coming up very soon. Elon Musk we're trying to get him to speak the truth. Yeah,
What the fuck is that? He's gonna rub aerogel on his Tic Tacs.
That does look like an aerogel on a plate. That's aerogel just with like a holographic image of the Earth. Yeah, there you go.